Hello everyone, Krydax here, and welcome back to pYanodon's Season 3. Cotton Guts are a go, and yeah, we're working our way towards having all sorts of stuff on trains, but Cotton Guts are done. I think, let me just double check. Did we finish everything we needed to? That loop should be running. They're going back into the chest. Yeah, I think we're good. We can check that off the list. Sweet. Okay. Now what? In the long run, we were looking at arcads, which are a bit of a craziness. We're gonna need Vrauk food for them. So maybe I should work on Vrauks and Vrauk Mark II next. Because we're gonna need Vrauk food anyway, and then we're gonna need Vrauks for the arcads. Yeah, I think that works. And what do we need for Pi2 science? I mean, we still need a lot of stuff, right? We need the rare earth stuff. We need sea sponges. We need... What's the Flutech? Decalin, cobalt fluoride. Cobalt extract is the mixed ores, which is copper, rare earth, and nickel. And then rare earth oxides, and then we've got the Decalin, which is just aromatics, titanium, and nexolite. So many interesting things going on. Okay, why don't we... put sap on trains? Let's start with that, because that's going to be needed in a lot of places. So let's work on about 1 billion sap extractors, which require a lot of soil, iron, stone brick, and pipes, mostly. Probably gonna do like 50 or 60, maybe 64, make it a nice even power of 2. Let's see, air core inductors. Okay, that might be too many. And stone brick. And a bunch of soil. And more iron. Okay. More mechanical inserters, I guess. More iron, more pipes. Okay, we are out of soil now. More. How many do we have now? 40 something? Okay, that is 50 basically. 49. Alright, there's 52, so I need 12 more. 6 more stacks of soil. There we go. There is 64 sap extractors. Holy crap. Holy crap sap. Holy sap. Where are all those sap trees that I made once upon a time? Perfect. So we need 128. And that should do it. We'll have sap running around in no time. Where shall we put it? we... Why don't we put it over here in the small side segment of that? I feel like it'll fit nicely. Drink some coffee here. Starting to feel the bot mall. Starting to feel it coming. One of the reasons I'm delaying on the bot mall slightly is because it's going to require producing a lot of little things that aren't on trains yet, and I don't know if I want to produce those locally or put them on trains too. So, you know, there's things like small parts which are on trains, but most of the little intermediate bits in here are not. Like, all of this stuff is not on trains. And it's like, do I want to put that on trains? Probably not. I probably want to make it on site. So I'm going to need something like this at the bot mall. Right? So it's going to be a little tricky. Basically, I need to provide all of these metals on trains. And there's still a lot of these metals we haven't put on trains. And then we're going to need stuff like ceramic on trains. We're going to need nichrome on trains. We're going to need rubber on trains. Oh yeah, rubber, and that's another one. Let's do that. Does that mean we're going to have to put latex on trains? I don't even know. There's so much going on. There's so much going on. Let me tell you. I tell you what. Okay, well, this is going to be an easy situation. We're just going to be able to do like this. And that's literally it. And a power pole. And does that connect to the next power pole? It does not, so I'll need 2 power poles. Perfect. And that's pretty much it. This will be... Freaking autosaves, man. Alright, that is 16, so we need 4 chunks of these. And that's it. Now, I will let my bots... Okay, I have to be in map view for this. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but I just am not totally sold on the way Factorio's done map view versus in-person view. I don't even have specific complaints, and I don't even know exactly what it is I don't love, but there's enough times where I feel like I get a little like, that's not what I expected to see or wanted to see. And I don't know if some of it is muscle memory from Factorio 1.1, or if some of it's just, it doesn't quite work for me or whatever, but I think I expect map view to work more like an extended version of being in person. And I realize that that doesn't make any sense when you're dealing with a different surface. So I know a lot of the changes they made to map view were for the express purpose of being able to like mess with Gleba while you're on Novice. So from that perspective, it makes sense, but not being able to access your inventory is kind of annoying because a lot of the times the ghost cursor that you want is going to be found in your inventory, right? And so that, and I guess that's not true in terms of like, you might not be holding biochambers when you're not on Gleba. So that part, I guess, kind of makes sense. But a lot of the stuff you mess with is in your inventory a lot of the time. I don't know. I think I miss having my inventory in map view, I guess is kind of what I'm trying to say here. Okay, now I have no idea how much sap this is even gonna make. I just went for it. Oh, 3.2. Not bad. Not bad indeed. We'll just go ahead and provide that. I don't think we need to request anything in this case. So this is just sap provide. So sap is done. I guess we need power. Maybe a couple lights. One at the top, one in the middle, one at the bottom. There we go. That's a lot of sap. Cool. Alright, sap is being provided. I don't think we need to do anything with all this. What else do we want to make? Sap. We got moon drops, we got methane, we got... I'm just trying to think about like all these different pieces. We do have moss, we have CO2 now, we have seaweed, we have logs. Pretty much all of this bio stuff. Except for petri dishes. Petri dishes will need to go onto a train at some point. We've even got cotton guts. Maybe we do fish next or something. Or do I work on the bot mall next? Or do I work on rubber next? So rubber's interesting because we need latex. And latex is made from formic acid, stone, sap, and seaweed. Everything else is mineable locally, like limestone. And I guess even seaweed technically is local, but we've got... Okay, so here's the next question. Should I put limestone on trains? Same question with soil. Like, should we have soil trains running around? Should I have limestone trains running around? Or should we just have that stuff made locally? I almost feel like it depends. But I think in most cases, local soil is easy enough. I've already started local soil over here. But imagine if muddy sludge was on trains, we wouldn't have needed all of this. So there's an argument for that. Where was my wood block, by the way? Is it this one? No. It was in here. No, where was the actual build that we did for wood? I seem to have lost it. Here it is. I was just looking at muddy sludge per second. It's about 200. So that would be a train every 100 seconds. Yeah, that is a lot of fluid trains. Probably better to have that on site. Here comes the sap. When do I get sap Mark II? Oh, it's literally just about ready. What do we need to make it? I need sodium alginate, urea, moss, sap tree, muddy sludge, and fertilizer and bone meal. And then we can make Sap Tree Mark II. Wait, it's Sap Mark II? The heck is Sap Mark II used for? Oh. We need Sap Mark II to make Sap Seeds Mark II. And then the Sap Seeds Mark... wait, no, I'm confused now. I'm hardcore confused. There are 2 ways to make Sap Seed Mark II. It seems. So we don't actually need to use this recipe Doesn't that seem weird? It feels like you should have to do this a few times, and then you could start making Sap Mark II, but it says made in Sap Extractor Mark I. I'm wondering if that's a lie. I wonder if Sap Mark II can only be made... Because there's no way that they can make it so that Sap Mark II can only be made with Sap Trees Mark II, which I think would be the goal, right? So then you need a few Sap Tree Mark IIs, then you can start producing Sap Mark II to make the seeds cheaply. But I don't think that's possible. They can't actually do that. So I don't really know if we ever need the harder version of that recipe. I guess we'll find out if they have some sort of scripting or fancy stuff going on when we get there, but... Anyway, what do we design next? Fish? Manure? Circuits? Substrate, petri dishes, glass. We haven't improved our glass at all in about 1 million years. Feeling a bit aimless. I feel like there's a lot we need to do. Let's work on Vrauk Mark II. So Vrauky Poos. Vrauk. Yeah, okay. So here's the old Vrauk recipe. And this is the normal one with no Vrauk food enabled. Is that right? 1 Vrauk a second would require 160 paddocks. That's insane. And no small amount of sap and moss. Or even barrels. Obviously we're not doing that, but it's just good to know. I think we did like 0.1 is my total right now. No, this isn't right. These don't have the Vrauks in them. There we go. I knew something looked wrong. This is what we have. Okay, so then another way to make a Vrauks is with the Vrauk food. Now, what's the difference here? 10 cocoons go to 2 Vrauks, so 5 to 1. It's still 5 to 1. It's just a lot faster. That is worth noting. So if we were to make the same amount here, it would still need the 4 repro complexes, but it's 6.5 instead of 16. And then it requires a little bit less moss, no flora, but now it requires sap kind of instead of flora. And a decent, well, 5 sap extractors, and then the food, which is a lot of complicated crap. Classic. Even some spoilable complicated crap. Alright. So that means we're gonna need agar and cellulose on site. Oh boy. Well, we'll be dealing with that in a moment. For now, I'm ignoring this. And then now we look at the other way to make cocoons, which also integrates Vrauk food, and it makes 8 to 12, which is quite literally double. The sap is double, the moss is double, the floor is double. We save on water, that's it. So Vrauk food is utilized to make them go more than twice as fast. Okay, so now we would get 0.12, roughly 0.115, 0.1. Well, let me just do this. Divided by 2.013 times 2. There we go. We get that many. So now, using roughly the same amount of each thing, we would get 0.229. So the Vrauk food recipes double our output. For a lot more sap input is worth noting, and a lot more moss. What's our moss output right now? I'm making about 8 per second. If I have that much stone. Okay. Interesting. Okay, and now what we need to do then is do Vrauk Mark II. So we're gonna do another version of this one. But this one has got Vrauk Mark IIs. And then those are made. That. Come back. Okay, so 1, so we divide by 10.501 times 4. So here we can see the output is again almost double, slightly fewer Vrauk paddocks. So that's quite a few Vrauks per second maximum. Quite a bit of food that they would eat up though. Like, that's no joke. I'll probably do a tier 2 burner assembler making Vrauk food and see if we can support it. I mean, how much agar is this? 2 HPF's worth of agar. Seaweed. How much seaweed am I making? 10 a second. Unfortunately, these are... I'm gonna delete them because they're just confusing me at this point. I'll make new ones if we need them. Because this is where we're putting all of our flora. We got fauna, we got flora. That's how we're doing it now. Anyway, so back to this. What about the cellulose? I definitely want the sodium hydroxide version. Yeah, we can just use one biofactory. It's less wood. A lot less power. 6 megawatts versus 295 kilowatts. And it just uses a little bit of sodium hydroxide, which we will have to start providing. Okay, and then none of that is talking about the loop for Vrauk 2, which we need to plan out. So the initial Vrauk Mark II, is that the same recipe as the new Vrauk recipe? Food, cocoon, sap, moss in a paddock. Food, cocoon, flora, sap in a repro complex. Is that the same as this? Flora, food, sap, moss. Flora, food, sap, cocoon. Interesting. And then this one, once I have the first few, then this one is, well, no, then I do this one. I don't know. I think step one is just to get Vrouk set up on trains. That's my take on this. But do I need... Hold on. Do I need to change this? This is already nicely set up. It's already working just fine. Vrouks are being produced. Vrouks are being delivered. Formic acid is being created. If anything, I just need to deliver food to here for now. I don't think I want to rebuild all of this quite yet. I don't think there's a point. Let's get Vrouk food going on trains. Let's work on that. So, wrong direction. Go this way. Our food plant is over here. So we'll just work on Vrouk food here. And what's Ulrich food been out of these days? Anything in particular? Or is it just this inserter's too slow? $12 a minute. Wait, what? I guess that makes sense. One Ulrich food needs a lot of items. I just hadn't quite considered how extreme it was. Let's do that. So now the Ulrich food should be produced quite a bit faster. Like 3 times faster, basically. Yeah, we were just inserting way too slow. Even this can't keep up with the building. That's crazy. Yum, 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 yum. Alright, I will actually use a fast inserter. Look at it go. And now the tree seeds can't keep up. Wow. Okay, well that should help overall. Is there a reason I made this one so big? I think I was thinking this would provide to all of the different food types, but I really didn't set that up properly now, did I? I guess we could use local logistics bots for this. I just don't know what to do with all this. I kind of like the idea of just making each one by the warehouse. Because comparatively, we've got the Fawoji, we've got the tin, we've got wood as fuel, we've got steam. Everything else is different. Let me do sodium hydroxide first. This has been on our list for a long time to deal with or think about. Let's go handle that. So, what do we do? Because these guys... Maybe I'll provide it alongside the lamps here. Uh-oh. This is not a multi-provider. Never mind. We could provide it alongside this one, maybe. Alright, so we'll jam some sodium hydroxide into here, as it were. So that doesn't actually work. That may have to be over here. Sodium hydroxide will come over here. And then get loaded into here. And then have a limit on here. Sodium hydroxide. It stacks to 100. Let's do like 60 stacks. Okay. So now we have some weirdness. Basically, we want to vent some chlorine and hydrogen if we need sodium hydroxide. And that sodium hydroxide is a byproduct. So wherever we get it in other places, we'll want to high priority provide it back. And we're using the sodium hydroxide. We need it for activated carbon as well. But the activated carbon happens to consume an amount of HCl that makes it so that we always generate enough sodium hydroxide. But once we disconnect these two from being locked, then we're maybe going to need to cause it to also produce hydroxide for this over here. And HCl is a separate thing. And if we need HCl, we might need to delete some hydroxide. But then we should send it to the super trasher. This was a temporary measure. This was a temporary measure to get rid of hydroxide, right? Yeah, it's so weird when you have something being a product and a byproduct at the same time. Because hydroxide is useful for a lot of things, right? I mean, yeah, it's used all over the place. We can also just straight up make saline water out of it. Okay, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. So if we're making HCl, then the hydroxide is a byproduct. If we're making hydroxide, hydroxide's the main product. So when it is a byproduct, and then we have too much of it. I mean, why don't I just let the byproduct sodium hydroxide... How do I know if it's a byproduct? Oh god, this is also tricky. This is all really tricky. Wait, do I already have this? No. So... let's put the hydroxide... Okay, let's say half of it goes onto a train. And then we want to measure. We need to measure some things. We need to measure the amount of hydroxide in here. So we're going up to 6,000. And that's 60 stacks. We got plenty of room in there. So if hydroxide... How do I do this? Just trying to think about all the correct priorities. So I think we want to say... First of all, I need a couple tanks. Or wait. We just need some overflow valves. Can you link these up? You can. No, you can't. Okay. So then we need pumps, and then we need situations like this. Wait. These are gases. Right? Wait, what are these? These gases or liquids? Hydrogen's definitely a gas. Chlorine, the symbol makes it look like a... It's not a gas or a liquid symbol when it comes to pi, so that's why it's confusing. But I'm guessing it's a gas, given that's what the other ones look like. Where's the used in vent hydrogen? Used in void chlorine in exhaust pipe. Okay. Just making sure. Wrong building. It's just that HCl... Is that also a gas? No, HCl is a liquid. That's why I get confused, I think, with those two. Okay. So then we've got this and this. Now, these need to only be enabled under certain conditions. Right? We only want... to vent the chlorine and hydrogen from this if we need HCl, sorry, if we need sodium hydroxide, that's NaOH. If we need NaOH and we're capped on HCl. Because if we're not capped on HCl, we don't want to be getting rid of them. So then we also need to measure our HCl count. This is getting kind of tricky. Well, that just means I need a decider combinator for these. Let's disconnect this real quick. So we need a decider combinator that decides what we want to do here. So if we have chloride, oh god, where is it? Didn't mean to click out of it. Hydrogen chloride, this one. So if that is greater than 249,000, so if we're maxed out on HCl and hydroxide. Whoa, what just happened? I didn't hit Control F. Hydroxide is greater than 5,800. Then we output the trash bin symbol. Because that means we need to get, or sorry, less than. Okay. There we go. So that's saying, yes, it is time to trash hydrogen and chlorine. That feels really bad. There are other things you can do with chlorine, I feel like. Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to do, man. Then we need like a chlorine waste situation. But this isn't here to make chlorine, it's here to make HCl. This is just so much. I probably should have a byproduct chlorine and hydrogen situation. Oh my gosh, there's so much going on here. What's this one set up for? Is this a request? No, this is supposed to provide something. This is an oxygen byproduct situation. And these aren't doing anything. Well, but now that's not hooked up. I shouldn't have done it that way. Or should I have? Because this is only oxygen, so that's fine, I guess. What is that hooked up to? Things that haven't run in a year? Why haven't they run in a year? Because I haven't needed activated carbon. Fair enough. Oh man, there's a lot going on. Okay, we're getting lost in the weeds here. Let's just do this thing the way that it is set up right now. So these need to enable disable based on trash bin signal greater than 0. Okay, so now we're gonna keep making hydroxide, which then we need to have an output priority to the right here. Otherwise, and then I need to delete that one. Okay. I did something wrong. How did that get pressurized air in it? Anybody know? Ah, this is the guilty party. There we go. Okay, so that's working. And now we want to feed zinc chloride first and foremost. Is there a world where this doesn't work, where we have the need for hydroxide and this isn't running because the hydroxide is backed up? Well, if the hydroxide's backed up on the left, because this is only measuring the need for hydroxide in the chest. We also need to measure the need for hydroxide over here. So should I just wait till hydroxide gets backed up to here? But then what happens when we need HCl and we need to dump hydroxide? Then we'll enable some sort of belt over here. Yeah, I actually like that method better. So we disconnect this. That's not needed. We instead are measuring this belt right here. Or I could do some sort of buffer situation, because if the belt's fully saturated, then you have problems too. I guess this doesn't make 15 a second, though. It only makes 10. So if the belt's fully backed up, then I don't know. I never know exactly what to do in these situations, but let's just read. And if hydroxide is equal to exactly 8. Or not is less than 8. So until hydroxide is backed up, we will be potentially voiding HCl. And we want the hydroxide to back up. However, if hydroxide is backed up and we're lacking HCl, which is a different thing, then we might need to get rid of hydroxide. So that's going to be a different thingy. So that gives a trash hydroxide symbol. So that's going to connect to the same input. And now we want to say if chloride is less than 100,000, but hydroxide is equal to 8, then we will trash so this is saying we need the solid, this is saying we need the fluid, so trash the solid. Sure. Okay. And then that symbol will activate this belt. Only if that fluid one is activated. I'm sure we could have done this a better way, but this should work. So when we're low on... Wait, that's not right. That shouldn't be showing up. Okay, there we go. So we're low on HCl, backed up on hydroxide. Then we start trashing hydroxide. Okay, that should all work. And then this is saying if we're low on hydroxide, but we have backed up on HCl, we start trashing not HCl itself, but just the hydrogen and chlorine. Okay, and then if I wanted to, I could route these over to train providers as high priority outputs. Which is probably what I should do, if we're being honest. Like, if I don't, I think I'm gonna regret it. So let's set up F provider extensions here. And we've got hydrogen, and we've got chlorine currently. No thank you. And then this is gonna be, we're not going to trash things. Wait a second. Oh no, I'm confusing myself again. How many times am I gonna get confused about this? So right now my brain's like, wait a second, if we never put it on channel 3, that means things that are trying to utilize hydrogen that wants to be trashed aren't ever gonna request this. Which is problematic. That means if something is requesting... Because there's a difference between main requesters and utilize trash requesters, right? We've talked about that before. If we're utilizing the trash, Like, let's say something productive like iron oxide, you know, like that you can just turn straight into iron plates. You don't want, because we're also going to need to produce iron oxide in the base, but you don't want to go through the hard work of producing iron oxide just to make iron plates, right? So you would only want the iron oxide utilizer, to turn them into iron plates, to be on the trash network, not on the main network. Because on the main network, you would have to just manually produce all that iron oxide constantly. But you also, in this case, you don't just want to immediately trash all of the hydrogen that we... Well, I guess we don't need to, because we're trashing hydrogen locally if we don't need it. Oh, now here's an interesting thing. So I think we can put this on channel 3 because we're not going to have a final trash station for hydrogen or chlorine. We're never going to need that. Oh, I see what I'm doing. Okay, so there's kind of two methods to this madness. There's local trash method, and there's global trash method. In this case, stone and gravel and sand are global trash, meaning I have an actual station that's meant to trash those things. Meaning, if I ever provide byproduct of this stuff onto channel 2, it will get stolen by something. Now, we could have higher priority reutilizers that will steal the stone that will also always be hungry if they're not backed up. So that works fine. But they'll still be lower priority than regular stations. So they'll be like negative, 25 or whatever. And that way the byproduct stone will always go to the hungriest regular stations, and then it will, if there happens to be any that are hungry, but if there aren't, then it will immediately go to the reutilizers, and then if those are backed up and not requesting, then it'll finally go to here. That's, I think, what we want. And then you don't need to ever worry about trashing these things locally. The problem that I was getting at over here is that we would immediately trash, and the same problem exists for stone right now. If stone becomes available on a byproduct network, it will immediately get sent to this trasher if none of the regular ones are hungry. And that's why we set up the super trasher, is so that we would keep back some of the sand, gravel, and stone and not just immediately trash it. Does that make sense? So like, that's why we set up this whole nonsense. But if you're not setting up this whole nonsense, then you need to either have something that changes the A value based on the local amount, which is what we set up here. Which I should probably like blueprint that, because we're gonna do that a bunch of times. This is just a single provider. But I probably didn't need this. I probably could use this system because we're never going to globally trash hydrogen or chlorine. The reason is we can always locally trash it. If we have too much chlorine, there's no reason to send it on a train to trash it somewhere else. We're already sending the extra to be provided at high priority, and if that's not getting eaten up, then there's no point. So essentially, for chlorine and hydrogen, channel 2 is not a trash network, it's a byproduct network. So if we have something that's called a hydrogen reutilizer, it will only be on channel 2, not on channel 3. So we'll never produce hydrogen explicitly for that station, but the hydrogen that we get as a byproduct will get sent to that station first. And so this actually needs to be a high priority station, because this is going to have the hydrogen and chlorine. Anyway, I don't know if I spent way too long talking about that or not. You guys might be bored out of your minds. But that all made sense to me as I was saying it. I hope it made enough sense that you understand what the heck I'm talking about. So now we have to do something a little even more annoying, which is like And I want to have like, oh gosh. I want to have enough space. Part of me wants, I wish we had tiny tanks. I wish we had like 1,000 or 2,000 sized tanks. Which we don't. I always forget where the tanks are. The smallest we have is 10K. I don't really want 10K here. Actually, wait, sorry, never mind. This is going to be connected to a tank. So I can just, I mean, it feels weird because it's so far away. With the old way valves worked, this was not going to fly. But with the new way that valves work, this will work just fine. Okay, that's not going to work. But the new way that valves work, I can now just do this. And now these are the vent systems. And now this is hydrogen and chlorine. Ebony and ivory. Let's see. Hydrogen was... Wish I could see that. I need long reach. Hydrogen is the one on the left, which is the one on the bottom. Which is that one. Okay. And then we just need tanks for those somewhere. Somewhere over here even. I'm out of lead. Alright, we're gonna get this finished and then we'll probably call it an episode. Man. Talk about getting sidetracked. Classic. But also, man, we're not gonna get Brauk food done for ages. That's not exactly what I thought we were doing here. I do feel like my brain is getting more accustomed to all of this train byproduct versus trash versus byproduct utilization versus global trash versus local trash. Like, we're learning. We're learning. I don't know if you guys are feeling like I'm learning, but I feel like I'm learning. I keep getting confused about it over and over again, but I feel like each time I get to understanding it a little bit faster. It's possible I should write it all down somewhere. Maybe that would help me. I don't know. I don't know if I'd even understand what I wrote. It feels like my brain has to re-grasp like the root level concept each time, though. Now, did I see a signal that was flashing? Did. There we go. Okay, so then we wanted to fit these tanks in somewhere. Probably one here, and then one here should be perfect, actually. So that one goes there, and then this one can be a double annexed into there. Uh-oh. That's not right. This one's supposed to be chlorine. Wait, what did I do? Oh no. Whoa, these are misaligned. That's what I did. I bet some of you saw that and you were freaking out. There we go. That's what I was intending in the first place. Okay. There we go. So now these need to be connected to that. And that should do it. And this is high priority. Let's go 50 for the basic byproduct. Priority. Not that I'm ever gonna need that much granularity, but... Okay, everything should be good to go now. Man, what a crazy time. What a crazy time. I also feel like we have way more on... Yeah, like we should have another one on the far side. There's not enough on the far side. There was only 3. Let's do 4. Not that it has to be perfectly balanced, but... Okay, well now hydroxide is provided, and I think HCl is also provided, and either one can be voided. So that's exactly what we wanted. We're gonna call it an episode here though. As always, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next one.